Educating, informing, serving. Fact TV, keeping government honest.
I will be calling roll first, and then I will be giving you a brief overview of the budget, and then turn it all over to you for questions. Let me tell you that we are in fact being streamed and videotaped by Fact TV tonight. If you wish to ask a question, I'm going to ask that you raise your hand or you go to the chat website, part of the website that we have on Zoom, and write your question in so that Sarah can call it to our attention. Let me call roll first with the select board. Steve DeLessio.
Here.
Cheryl Mayberry.
Here.
And I'm Peggy Pashir. Sarah Downing, who is the is manager of administration.
Here.
Regina Borden is here as our secretary. She will be taking minutes. Ben Hoy.
Here.
Recycling. Mike Rao, who is the highway department. He's waving. Okay, that's good. Mike Paquette, who is chief of police.
Here.
Thank you. Lieutenant Justin Sanctuary.
Here.
For the police, he's also here. I don't know if you heard him. Jane Malmberg is here.
Here.
From the library. Megan Hansen, our interim town clerk.
Here.
Craig Harlow, recreation.
I'm here.
Okay, we have our moderator, Jack Wozmak, is with us tonight as well. Jack, we can't see you, but we know that you're here.
I'm here. Good evening.
Okay.
There he is.
Good. There he is. Good. We also have Helen Dahlbeck with us, and she is the executive director of the Hooper Institute. We have one person so far from the community, and that is Ray Boas, who is the publisher of the Clarion. So he
Good evening, all. I just said good evening, all.
Good evening to you. I'm going to ask Sarah to please put some things up on the screen that I'm going to run through quickly, just as an overview of the budget for 2021 for the town of Walpole. Sarah, if you'll put the first paper up, please. Thank you. Those of you who read the article that was written in the February Clarion will recognize that the operating budget is different than that I listed there, because after that time of January 22nd, when my article was due, we went back to the drawing board and also made some amendments to the operating budget. So the operating budget is $4,151,177, all to be raised by taxes. In addition to that, you will see in the warrant, as it appears at town meeting, that water which is covered by user fees, is $189,269. The sewer is $476,569, which again is covered by user fees. That sewer includes a $230,000 bond payment, which will be collected over the course of a year. So the whole total, I see I have a little extra number there, is $4,817,011. The increases in this budget, which was for the most part flatlined by every department, includes an increase in healthcare costs, which when we received it was actually 6.4%. But from Health Trust, we received a refund, which we spread among all the users of our health insurance plans so that they received essentially a rebate, so that our increase really appears as 1.7% for the year. The New Hampshire retirement costs, which we bear every year, will go up July 1st. And this year, our budget reflects that 6 months at 25.87%. It's a very high cost. That's for all employees for who are non-police. The police themselves have an increase for that 6 months of 19.16%. They always run higher than any other department, except for teachers perhaps, but we don't see that reflected in our budget. Salaries across all departments were increased generally about 2%. However, when we found ourselves as we worked through these budgets that we were close to another full amount, for instance, if somebody had a salary, let's say, of 48,700 or something dollars, we rounded it up to the next highest number. So they would get 48,000. We have two changes in department heads, which actually are reflected in increased salary lines. As you know, Sandy retired at the end of December 2020. We gave her a nice farewell with that great drive around that you all participated in. And Megan became, by statute, the interim town clerk tax collector. And she will remain in that job at Sandy's salary, according to the RSAs, until she is elected in her own right, which will be in March, that election being March 9th. And then she will have her own salary set there. The police department is also going to see a change. At the end of March, Chief Paquette, who's with us tonight, will step down after 20 years of working for the Walpole Police Department, and in his place will become the Lieutenant Justin Sanctuary will also take over as the Chief of Police. That means that there are two positions in that department to be filled, and they are reflected in the budget for next year. The next page, if you would, Sarah. I want to run through the warrant articles and the capital reserve funds, and then I'll open it up to all of you for questions. We have an unassigned fund balance that is well, it's close to $2 million this year. And from that unassigned fund balance, we have decided to take $400,000. The first warrant, which will appear on at town hall, will be the $200,000 set aside for buildings repairs. That will include painting town hall. Now, if you look at town hall and you're just driving by, you say, why should we paint that building? I am going to invite you, once the snow melts so that it's safe, to take a walk around that building, because in fact, the back side of the building is in terrible shape. The front's not in great shape either, and we believe that it's prudent for us to paint it at this point. We have bids for that. There are a lot of people who don't want to take that job on, but we've had a good bid for that, which will involve scraping, painting, removing mold, all of that sort of thing, for about $89,000. If you look closely at the second floor ceiling in town hall, you'll notice it has a sag in it. And those of you who have been around town for a long time will remember when the first floor had a sag and it collapsed. We don't want that to happen. So we have included it in this warrant article of $200,000 to have the second floor ceiling repaired. We have also set aside money in that warrant for both the Walpole Town Library and the North Walpole Library, which has not had attention paid to it for a while. So we want to bring it up to snuff so that as soon as we can safely open it, it can be reopened. We will indeed also be changing a water meter at the pool, town pool. All of this will come out of unassigned fund balance, not your taxes. The highway department, in its rotation of trucks and equipment, which we started a few years ago, needs to buy a new truck. And it too will come from both an unassigned fund balance of $100,000 and a highway block grant of $100,000, so that in fact it's not coming out of taxes. And Mike perhaps can tell you about that later. Again, in our regular rotation of cars, we are buying another police car with a loan from Mascoma Bank, similar to what we did last year. This year, the first payment will be $13,225.76. It will all come from general taxation. The equipment for that police car, which amounts to close to $15,000, will also come from general taxation. Now, three more things are going to come out of our unassigned fund balance. And that's the addition to the highway garage, which is necessary for safety's sake. And that will cost $60,000. We will be paving the recycling yard, as well as adding a concrete slab near those dumpsters where we all throw our yellow bags. And that totals $35,000. Pool house needs a new roof, and we have bids for that so that it will cost close to $20,000. So all of that, again, comes out of $115,000 out of our unassigned fund balance. Next page, please. Sarah, thank you. Let's look at these capital reserve funds. There are two that I particularly want to mention, and that is the $25,000, which will go into the highway fund. And those of you who are sitting out there thinking, what have we already got in there? We have approximately $88,000 in that fund. But if you recall, just from what I've said earlier and what we did last year, it costs close to $200,000 to buy a new truck. So eventually we're working toward that with this capital reserve fund. The police department at this point only has $15,000 in there, and we need to add another $15,000. Both of these funds come from general taxes. If you recall, we had quite a bit more than that in the police department's capital reserve fund when we had an accident where a car was destroyed, and we used that money, for which it's meant to be used, to replace that car. I can tell you now that we've had another accident with a police car that happened late last night on a slick road when an officer was responding to a call. We don't know yet the extent or the cost of that damage, but in fact, we have insurance that will help cover that, just as we got insurance for the last car. And I'm going to ask the select board tonight later to put that money back in the capital reserve fund, because we spent money from it for that last car. So in fact, we got insurance of $22,000, which is sitting in our general fund that we could put back into that capital reserve fund. There are also warrant articles that you'll see that are non-budget related. And so when you come to town meeting on the 13th of March, you'll see that we have an ordinance that speaks to dog owners, that sets some fines for dog owners. It's an amendment really to an earlier ordinance that was back in, I think it was 1992 when it was first accepted. We also have by petition two also other non-budget related warrants for a scenic road, which Ray Boas introduced, and one on carbon pricing legislation, which came in from Tara Sad by petition. So that's my brief sort of hurried summary. And I would like to now open it to anyone in the audience who has a question or wants some clarification of what I've raced through here. Please either raise your hand or enter the chat room. Jack.
That's fine. I just want to say I did walk around the perimeter of town hall, and I know exactly what you mean. And I'm glad to see that money in the budget, because there is some issues with some deterioration of the wood down at the base and so forth, and a ton of mold on the back. So I think that's a good thing.
Thank you. I'm glad.
Thank you.
Glad you took the tour. Okay, Megan, you had your hand up.
I was curious about the dog ordinances. Does this expand upon the state RSAs, or they elaborate further than the state RSAs?
No, they depend on the RSAs, but they're very specific to Walpole. We have had an increase, and I think the police can verify this, in issues with dogs over the last year. So we decided that we needed to reissue that and amend it, and particularly add and up the fines for people who are allowing their dogs to run free. We've had people bitten this year. Perhaps because we're all home more and we're walking our dogs more, many of us in town are not paying attention to the regulations we already have in place.
Right. Yeah, it'd be nice if we could encourage people to license their dogs more, so that when somebody does get bitten, we can look it back into our records and know whether or not the dog's been inoculated against rabies.
That's a good point. Yes, we have a lot of people who do not bother to come to town hall to license their dogs. That's something your office has sent us every year. And we have debated, as we used to debate with Sandy, whether what you did, because there are so many, there are dozens of people, maybe 100 or more, who don't bother to license their dogs.
Right. Well, unfortunately, I think, it takes some something to prod people into some people into action. I've seen other people come into town from other towns like Keene, and they'll right away quit. I need to license my dog right away, because there's more penalties in Keene, and they're on it more. So they're more serious about keeping people in line with it.
Well, maybe we can be this year, bring in some extra income. Are there any other questions? Anybody else have a question you'd like to ask, or a comment you'd like to make? No, I can't believe it. Ray, you don't have any questions?
Well, are you going to go line by line?
No, we don't usually.
I can remember in past some different discussions, because I highlighted a couple of increases and decreases, and there's some big percentages, but they're on small amounts of money, so let's not worry about them. I won't ask any questions on that. I will comment, though, when you do paint the west side of the town hall, remember there has been discussion with the property owner in the past on where ladders can go and so forth.
Yeah, we're well aware of it, Ray.
Okay, good.
We're
And the
keenly
other
aware of
thing,
that.
I have a big note to self on the dog problem. I invite an article or articles on that, please.
Okay, thank you. We will see that you get something. Yes, Jack.
Just one more thing. When I was walking around the back of Town Hall, I was struck by the amount of moisture back in there that's kept up against the buildings by all of those 60-year-old pines that are on the other property line. And boy, that's a real problem, I think. I mean, I don't know what, it's obviously not property the town owns, but boy, that's a pretty messy area back there. And I don't know, obviously that this is not news to you folks, but be nice if someday that building could be opened up to stop it from being suffocated by the moisture.
Yeah, one year we looked at, instead of painting it, trying to side it back there with some type of material. But I think it became very cost prohibitive at that point when we looked at it.
Well, the trees are old enough, they should go. That's easy for me to say. But
That property owner is pretty steadfast about his property.
And Jack, it's also on the National Historic Register, which exacerbates the situation.
Doesn't help.
as to the trees though, but as I
The
listen,
property.
whacked a lot of
It
trees.
is, and the house.
Yeah. Many of it. We know
But-
it's the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're keenly aware of that. We will have to just have a discussion with them because it's going to be difficult for our ladders and any other scaffolding that we put up there because it's right against the fence line. But we also plan to have the town property surveyed because we feel that our ramp is also probably over the property line with the church, which abuts the town hall. So we are going to have that property surveyed, and it will be interesting to see what we learn about our property line.
That's been my understanding on that ramp for the last 15, 18 years. I've heard that story.
Yep. Well, we're going to really get it surveyed this time, Ray.
Maybe we'll find out that the backside of the town hall has more room than we know about.
That would be wonderful.
That's what we all hope. We all hope that. So. Are there any other questions or comments, or do any of you want to comment about what some of that money is going to be used for in your department? Can't believe it. There are no questions. Steve, Cheryl, you want to add anything?
I'm just gonna say, I think we worked really hard on the budget. We tried to address, some safety concerns. Things are changing, and unfortunately, even though we level funded, we took great pains to level fund the budget. There's some increases were necessary, and I think that they're all good things. So,
Yeah, I think we're using the unassigned fund balance in a way that it was intended.
yes.
And that gave us a lot of bang for our buck or previous dollars already. So we did a good job there as well.
This is the second year in a row we've been able to use our unassigned fund balance, and we've used, for the second year in a row, we will have used $400,000 of that, and we still have quite a bit of money left.
Yep.
Should there be some catastrophe.
Can I ask what the auditors recommend with respect to the range of the unassigned fund balance?
It's like 7 to 15%
Yes,
is the recommended range. I think we try to be on the upside of that for the most part.
That's great. That's very good.
anyone else? Mike Rao, you want to make any comments about the building of the addition on your garage?
Yeah, sure. So I don't know if anybody there has seen the shop other than the people that are with the town, but it's we've run out of room. So we're kind of stacking things on top of each other. So we're trying to add just a small section. It's going to be 17 feet wide by 30 feet long. It's an extension of the parts and tool room. So it's just kind of clearing up the shop space so we can work on things better and not be tripping over everything, and just trying to make it a more functional space. And there's not really any other room to do. That's probably the last thing that we can add on to the shop. And again, the only thing the shop in the last, I think it's been here 35 years, is put a roof on it. So the building's been pretty good to us. So we're just trying to make it a little bit better for us to work in. And that's.
Yeah, I just want to add, Mike, we're putting 2 safety measures into that building,
Yes,
the exhaust and the heat detectors. Is that right?
Heat detectors, yes. Exhaust system, we haven't done anything.
Okay,
Heat detectors are in the works, yes. We have no fire protection at the moment. So I've been working with Mark Houghton, so hopefully we'll have that installed this year.
it is part of your budget, Mike. It
Yep.
is. It's factored into that you have some safety features in there.
Okay.
All right.
Yep.
And Ben, would you like to comment on what we're doing out at recycling? to make things easier for all of you and for us.
Yes, we're paving our work area, which I think is going to make a big difference, both with dust within the building and then also just moving the pallets around without spilling them. We have a lot of ruts that get frozen, and with the new pavement, that will create a nice smooth surface to move and work on. The concrete will allow us to move the trailer, and when it's overflowing, we can switch the trailers out, and that will give us a nice empty trailer, and the issue of overflowing trash bags will be a thing of the past. So both items are very important to our operation at the recycling center.
Good. Jane, may I call on you and ask you to tell us what needs to be done in the North Walpole Library in particular?
Sure, I'm happy to do that. So we are working on getting the North Walpole Library ready to reopen. We want to expand hours and expand our collection to include children's materials and have programming for children and families. And to that end, we'd like to make it, as Peggy mentioned, there hasn't been a lot of attention paid to it recently. So we just want to sort of brighten it up, make it a more welcoming space and a more functional space for us to be able to do more things and make it more of a community center in North Walpole.
I
So
see that
things like new carpet and curtains and paint and work on the floors, that sort of thing.
Good. Does anyone have any questions? I see that someone has joined us. I don't know. We don't know who they are, but if they'd like to identify themselves or if they have any questions, they can either write them in chat or speak up and
Can I be heard? I may be the one who's just joined that you're speaking of, Peggy.
oh yes, I recognize your voice. It's Pauline.
Hi, Pauline.
Pauline Barrington
Hello,
has joined us.
Right, and I'm only doing it on the phone because I think I have mucked up how to get by video, but I don't want to interrupt. Please go ahead.
All right. Well, we only have one other person from the two other people really from the public, and no one has been asking questions, Pauline. I've already done an overview of the budget, which is what we always do or have been doing at least. We don't go through the budget at line by line. We hit the highlights and then rely on people who have looked at the budget themselves and have maybe particular questions. So if you've got a copy of the budget and you have any questions, we'd be happy to try to answer them for you.
I managed to join you without having a copy on hand of the budget, and although I do see that there is a link for one, but I think what I would just ask a general question of perhaps everybody presenting, and that is, were there, given the kind of difficult year we have had, were there some unexpected positives to the year, and then I would ask about the negatives.
I think Pauline is asking us or any of us to comment on what's maybe positive about this budget year, or what we anticipate will be positive, or what might be negative.
Yes, all of the above.
Okay.
I'll just add, Pauline, this is Steve, that extra monies that we needed to spend for the safety of the employees in the buildings and so forth. Rich, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think all of it came from CARES money?
Yes, we received, Walpole's allocation was $91,428 that came from the federal CARES program as allocated to us by the state, and all that money was spent on COVID-related items. And those items were items that were costs that were incurred by the town that were not accounted for in our original budget. So there were costs over and above our operating budget that was covered by the CARES program.
That was 2020, not this next year,
Correct.
this year,
Right.
2021. It was all 2020 budget money that was spent.
And there was another package that passed the Congress towards the end of the year. Has that will there be money there for the town as well?
There were no funds allocated in that last package. Under the Biden administration, under his proposal for the $1.9 trillion, the report is that there are funds that are going to be allocated to states and municipalities, but the final workings of that have not been worked out, obviously, because the proposed stimulus package has not been entertained by Congress, nor has it been passed, etc.
Right.
The last budget, or the last package that was passed toward the end of 2020, I do think may have included some money, but I don't know whether New Hampshire is going to get any of it, for highway construction. And we haven't heard a word about that. So I don't know how it was just to be distributed or whether it has been distributed.
Mm-hmm.
It's not been referenced by any of the governor's conferences. I hear him almost every week on Thursday afternoon, and he was talking about the problems this afternoon, of course, just of everybody getting their second vaccination when most of us haven't gotten the first one yet. So
right.
I can't say.
I'm just going to add that there is a CARES 2 allocation, but right now it's only for education.
I see. Okay. All right. Well, let's hope that that things move swiftly in Washington and that state and local and municipalities stay in the budget.
Are there any other comments or questions from anyone? Any of the department directors or the select board or Rich or Sarah? Or Ray?
I just want to be clear about the New Hampshire retirement percentages.
Okay.
Those represent the increase from the current fiscal year to the next fiscal year. Those don't represent the percentage that the town is paying for the non-police and the police. Those represents the increase in the percentage that the town pays for their respective categories.
Thank you. Thank you. Sorry, Pauline, you had another question?
Well, it doesn't pertain to the budget per se, so I may be out of order. I had a few questions about the Brownfields, which you've been working so hard on, and you're about to launch into the next stage, as I understand.
We are, but that really, that is obviously that is a separate budget entirely, and it's represented by the EPA grant of $500,000, which we secured. The $100,000 will come, another 100 will come from the New Hampshire DES. And when we bought the property, we negotiated $175,000, which we hold in escrow from the seller of the property. So that really doesn't affect our budget. It will affect the 2022 budget because I we all, as the select board, expect to be in front of the public next year asking you for money to pave that new parking lot. And at this point, I can't tell you what that will cost. We will also have a green space there because where that nasty red shed sits will be a green space with benches, etc., in the center of town. So yes, we are working on that.
Good. Good. Okay. And so my question did have to do with the paving. So I'll just reserve that for next year, just with a hope that it would be a kind of permeable paving so that there wasn't a great deal of water runoff in rain and so on. But I'll wait on that.
Good, good. Hang on to your questions for next.
I will. Okay. I'm sure I'll have more.
We also will have electric stanchions in that parking lot.
Yeah, I was struck by that. That's great.
Are there any other questions or comments that any of you'd like to make? Did I see another hand? Well, hearing none, I'm going to then ask for a motion to adjourn this public meeting if in fact there are no further questions or comments.
Move to adjourn.
Jack has a question.
I just wasn't sure if you were going to review the warrant articles tonight.
I'm sorry, I only heard part of your question. I did review the warrant articles in that I told you what they represented and how much they
Okay.
cost.
Okay.
Do you want me to go over them again? I will.
Oh, good Lord, no. No.
Okay. They do add to the overall cost, of course. There are 2 warrant articles. Let me mention these. The ballot, which you will all see either by absentee if you request it, or on the 9th of March at this point. You will see a ballot that will have all the elected town officials or people to be elected, but you will also see 2 warrant articles. They're numbers 2 and 3. They are not easy to read. I think most people who read them the first time say, huh, what's this? But frankly, what they are requests to separate the position of town clerk and tax collector. These positions were combined back in, I think, 2002. I think I may have the right date. And we are asking you now to separate them. As the select board evaluated the combined office over this last year of Sandy, we realized how many hours she was working, how much extra work was being done by one person in that department with Megan as an assistant. And we felt that frankly, we needed to separate those 2 positions. And so we will ask you in these warrant articles, which will appear on the ballot, the first one, I could read them to you, but I think it's better when you read them yourself. But the first one we will be asking you to vote no on because it is worded in such a way that it asks you if you wish to continue the combination of town clerk tax collector. We're asking you to vote no so that they can be separated. But the RSAs are very specific that they cannot be separated until the next election, which will be 2024. So when Megan is elected, because she is in fact the only one running for that position, her term will last 3 years and we can't separate it before that period. The second warrant article, if you vote no on the first one, which we hope you will, on the second one, you vote yes, because then it gives us the right to appoint a tax collector, but not until after 2024. As we have looked at these 2 positions and feel that there is enough work for a full-time position in each case, we have felt as a select board, and I want Steve and Cheryl to jump in on this, is that the tax collector, frankly, should probably be more closely aligned with our manager of finance because they are the 2 people who work together all the time on those taxes. So it's a tough question when you read it, but we hope that in fact, and there will be an article in the next Clarion. I've already written it and given it to Ray, and he's holding it for the March edition. And we will do some more communication about this because I think the legalese that's written in both of these warrant articles are such that I think people have to read it very carefully in order to understand it.
So Peggy, just to be clear, the tax collector position would also be a full-time position?
Yes, it would be. It should be now from the amount of work. People think of the tax collector, oh, well, you only send out a tax bill twice a year. there's a great deal more work that's involved than just sending out a tax bill twice a year. And I
Right.
think Megan can attest to this as she's been learning about that the business of tax collecting. There are liens, there are overdue taxes, there are things that we take property as a result of people not paying their taxes and having a tax lien. That tax collector also handles all the property liens that occur because people don't pay their sewer bills.
Yeah, they also handle the utility liens.
Right.
Mhm.
So it's really a complex job, and it has gotten more complex over the years, frankly. I looked at the minutes recently of a 1962 town meeting, and everything was really quite simple. And I thought, in contrast to what we do now, it's very complex. I can tell you we elected more people then. We elected our road agent. We elected someone who was in charge of forests and trees. We elected someone who was the fence person, who observed fences around town. We also had a warrant article that asked us to approve taxes for the town poor. And at one point, the town poor were listed in annual reports.
Oh, my.
So things were quite different.
Yeah. I did some work on a road that goes back into the late 1800s and trying to determine if it was thrown up by the town or not, or given up by the town. And that was a same thing that I saw with the minutes of meetings. It's amazing how much more regulatory control there is.
How far do the minutes go back?
Sarah?
Sarah's rolling her eyes. Can you tell us, Sarah? Or Ray? Ray knows.
Oh, I wish I could find them all.
You know,
If we
Remember
have
the town hall burned
report-
down, right?
right. Good.
Well, we have town reports going back to like the Civil War era, like the mid 1800s.
Wow.
Some of the early things may be in the state, I'm not quite sure.
Right, they have a state archive, you're right.
Remember, the Historical Society, Walpole Historical Society, has for 2 years running gotten grants to preserve some of our papers that they have found, which are in the town safe in the basement of Town Hall. And they are beginning to disintegrate. So they've had projects to preserve those papers for present and future historians.
Those papers did not include town reports, unfortunately.
Oh, that's too
Other
bad.
interesting things.
It's ledgers.
Ledgers, yeah.
Beautiful handwriting.
Okay.
Okay, folks, I appreciate your time that you've spent with us, and thank you for your questions, and thank you every department director who has been working on this budget since last September. I look forward to the time we can get it passed on the 13th of March, 2021, and hopefully we will be all there in person with a mask on over in the middle school gymnasium.
Yeah.
So,
I just, if I have just 1 minute, I'd like to
yes, John.
I just want to give Ray Boas tremendous accolades for all his work on the newsletter. I mean, it's beautiful. It's a lot of work. I can't imagine it, but it's a great, great service.
Thank you, Jack. It's something that the town needs, and it's a treat to be able to give back to this wonderful community and do it. It's a labor of love. Thank you, Jack. But I have rely on everybody's input. Thank you.
I'm going to declare us adjourned at 6:15 p.m. Walpole Select Board meeting to order on February 4th, 2021, and I will call roll. Cheryl Mayberry.
Here.
Steve DeLessio.
Here.
Peggy Bashir, and I'm here, and Sarah Downing, our Manager of Administration, and Regina Board, who is with us,
I'm
and
here.
our Secretary. And we will begin with all of the the agenda that we've got. I'll note for the record that Fact TV is obviously live streaming us again for this meeting. They were with us for the public meeting as well.
I make a motion to accept the accounts payable check register in the total amount of $52,152.57 for checks issued 2/5/21, which includes $32,167.46 payment to the New Hampshire retirement system.
Second.
Are there any questions or comments about this motion? Hearing none, then I will call for a vote. All those in favor of the accounts payable, please respond by saying aye. Cheryl?
Aye.
Steve? You jumped me, but you got in.
Aye.
Aye, and I vote aye, so accounts payable are approved.
I make a motion to accept the payroll register totaling $28,172.74 for checks dated 2/5/21 and the 9/41 payroll tax transfer of $5,410.18 for checks dated 2/5/21.
Second.
Are there any questions or comments about the payroll at all? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor say aye. Steve?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
And I vote aye, so the payroll is approved.
I make a motion to approve the select board minutes of January 28th, 2021.
Second.
Are there any questions about the minutes of January 28th? Hearing none, I will call for a vote. All in favor, Cheryl?
Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
And I vote yes, so the minutes of January 28th are approved.
I make a motion to accept the non-public select board session minutes of January 28th, 2021, and they shall remain sealed.
Second.
Are there any questions or comments about those minutes? Hearing none, I will call for a vote then. All those in favor, Steve?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Anyone who might be listening from the public wondering why I don't call for the nays, there are only three of us. So when I get three ayes, I conclude the vote. All right, next.
I make a motion to accept the property tax refunds on map 22, lot 10, sublot 1, for an overpayment of $15.97.
Second.
Are there any questions or comments about this? Hearing none, I will call for a vote. All those in favor, Cheryl?
Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
And I vote aye. So map and lot, the overpayment for map and lot 2210 sublot 1 is approved.
I make a motion to accept the property tax refund for map 19, lot 34, for an overpayment of $26.63.
Second.
Are there any questions about it? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, Steve?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
And I vote aye. And that tax refund is approved.
I make a motion to accept the building permit for map 11, lot 59, to build a 50 by 18-foot detached accessory dwelling unit.
Second.
Are there any questions or comments about it? Have you looked at it? Did you see it when when Sarah sent it out to us? So you know what it is?
Yes, I read through it.
Yeah.
All right, good. I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, Cheryl?
Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
And I vote aye. The building permit is granted. And to go to old business, because of a change in the warrant articles that we approved last week, and primarily the fact that there is now a 3/5 vote required on Article 10, which is the purchase of the police car, we must sign these again. And it's my understanding that's the only change. Is that correct, Sarah?
Other than the date that you're signing, yes.
Yes, okay. Are
Did we
there
have to do that last year, Sarah?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah, there was something that changed last year too.
It's a tradition
Okay.
now.
Well, until the DRA looks at it, you know, you never know what they may ask.
I don't remember that was a 3/5 last year. I think that law changed after our town was changed
Yeah,
later.
did.
I don't remember it either.
Because I looked at
It
last
did.
year's, I think I looked at last year's warrants and I didn't see 3/5.
It changed this year.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Right.
Okay, so that's a
Yeah,
new
it's correct,
requirement.
it's
It's a
correct.
new
Yeah,
requirement.
okay.
That's why we didn't have it corrected. It's a new requirement and somehow we missed it. So. I'm
Why
going-
is that? Because it's a lease payment, or why is that?
I have no
Might be
idea.
because it's a loan.
It's a
It's a
loan.
loan. It's a borrowing.
Okay.
It's less, frankly, 2/3 is a little more than 3/5. So it's potentially
It's an
easier.
odd number.
It's an odd number. At any rate, I will call, we have a motion to approve these, please. Did we do
I
that?
make a motion to approve the 2021 warrant articles as presented.
Second.
Are there any other questions about them? Hearing none, I will call for a vote and let's all remember to go in and sign them, please. All those in favor, Steve,
Aye.
Cheryl,
Aye.
and I vote aye. They are approved. And we have a purchase order. Have you,
Yeah, I asked Rich to issue this purchase order, 746123, in the amount of $5,000 to fund the pre-permitting phase of the Houghton Brook Bridge project. I think we talked about it last week.
we did. Is there a motion to approve this purchase order?
I move to approve the purchase order for Fuss and O'Neill for $5,000.
I just want to point out that we more than likely will keep amending that purchase order as new work comes along with that, so that we capture all the cost of this project in one place.
Okay,
So-
but is there a second now?
Second,
Are there any other questions about this? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Steve,
aye.
Cheryl,
Aye.
and I vote aye, so the purchase order is approved. We had a Brownfield project update meeting with abutters on Tuesday morning, and Steve was sat in on that. Sarah managed that. We had, I thought, good discussion and good questions. And I've had calls since then. We discussed the elm tree that's present there, and I've had some objections to even thinking about cutting it down. But we also have some abutters who feel that it is dangerous, that it's diseased. So I'm going to have somebody look at it when we can get to it after all the snow is gone, to see if in fact it is a damaged or diseased tree. I also realized that and the foundation is going to notify all of its tenants of this work that will be done, but it occurred to me that it might be smart of us sometime later in the spring to hold a public meeting and invite anyone in the center of town to come hear what's going to happen, because it will impede traffic to some extent. And there will be about a 6-week period where there'll be a lot of big trucks in the center of town. And although we will have talked with all the abutters, there are also people who will be probably impacted, like Burdicks, and anybody else who lives around the common will have to put up with potentially some noise during work hours.
Yeah, after that meeting, Peggy, I thought about it. I don't know if it's even going to be possible, but somehow coordinating it around or with the Elm Street project.
That's probably a good idea.
I'm not sure if we can, but it's.
I don't know, but we should keep that in mind. Absolutely. Absolutely. Let me remember to send that message to Steve Rickarich as we talk. Yeah, because that'll be a lot of work going on in the center of town. All the more reason for us to have a public meeting where, and hopefully we can all be together and look at one another and talk about it.
Yeah, maybe if it's nice enough, we can do it on the common.
Yeah, that would be a very good idea. Sometime this spring. I thought Steve's Rickerich's discussion was pretty detailed in what we're doing and how much soil we're removing and so on. So I think they're all on top of it. I mean, it was not only a necessary meeting, but it was also to bring the new person in the EPA office up to date. So Katie Deng, who's read the things, but you know, she still is brand new at the job and needs to learn more about it. So did you have any questions, or Cheryl or Steve, about the Brownfield project? I thought it was interesting that Pauline brought it up in our budget meeting.
Yeah, I agree. I thought it was interesting. She brought it up. I don't have any questions. I think you're doing great.
Thank you. Thank you. Steve, any comment?
I thought it was a good meeting. I thought both meetings were very good. It's pretty clear what's going to happen. So it's.
Well, yeah, it is to us because we've been sort of living with it, but
Yeah.
that's why it's
But
necessary.
I thought it was clear to the abutters too.
Oh, absolutely. And they're
I didn't think there was anybody at the meeting that was surprised by anything.
No, not at all. And I've had calls. Dave Adams has called me twice to thank me for holding that meeting because he thought in fact, it was a very positive meeting and they learned a lot and we listened to their questions, which is always important. The issue of a permeable paving has come up before. Peter Palmiato hit me with that when we were first applying for the EPA grant. I'm not sure whether that's feasible or even practicable, frankly.
I'll just put my 2 cents in, Peg. We insisted that Tractor Supply put that in front of Tractor Supply. There's a space that's all that, and it's the worst paving and whatever I've ever seen down there because of it.
Well, my concern is if it's permeable, it means all sorts of things sink through there, including.
Well, you'd have to do some more homework on it, but it seems to me like it fills in with dirt. And I guess it's supposed to continue, but I think at some point it leaves like an icy, in the winter, it leaves ice on top of but I think more homework has to be done to make sure that's the right thing for the application and so forth.
Absolutely.
But we did insist in the planning board on Tractor Supply, and at one point they had contacted us about tearing it up.
Because it's not good.
It doesn't work very well. Yeah.
What its shelf life is either.
Yeah. But it's something to talk about, and I agree that we should talk about it and get some expertise. I'm certainly not the expert in it.
So, okay, let's go on to the 2020 litter report. I haven't seen that. Is there something you can show us, or?
Well, I think that person wanted to be anonymous, so I just kind of gave a recap of what had been picked up by that group. I think she wanted to impress on how much volume of litter there is out there and that people could be more thoughtful about not throwing their litter out on the side of the road or on trails.
Well, I'm going to read what you've written beside it because otherwise it won't mean anything to anybody reading the minutes or listening. This individual reports that there are 2.25 tons of litter comprised of 264 blue bags, 3,539 cans, and 2,312 bottles removed from the town roadsides and trails during the year of 2020. And does that, I don't know if that includes well, we didn't have that spring cleanup, did we, this year?
Yeah, this is an independent group doing it.
Right.
Now, is this all over Walpole or?
I think so, because I'm pretty sure one section was in North Walpole for sure.
But it doesn't include the stuff that Kara reported and was getting rid of as well, right?
Yeah,
Is this
that
in
it is
addition?
including that.
Oh, it
It's
does
including
include
that.
all of that? Okay.
We have had a report from Steve Grenier on town streetlights, and I'm going to ask that he attend next week's meeting. Is that acceptable to all of you?
Yeah, I also called Steve
Okay,
just to get a couple of my questions answered.
All right.
I was just surprised in there that of the book value of the street lamps, that they depreciate them. Right? The biggest cost of this project is coming from the depreciation of the paying off the book value of the light poles.
well, those are taxed, remember?
Yeah, I just thought it was odd that they depreciate a $500 cost over like 20 years or something like that. It's like a huge depreciation, but that's the way it is.
Well, let's have him in next week if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure.
At
Yeah,
6:30.
yeah, I'm ready to go.
I'm like to talk to him, have him talk to us about it. So we'll get our other questions ready.
Yep. No, I think it's really good. It's a
Is there
good program.
It is a good program. We are going to run into some opposition. We have to think about our response to that. We've already had from minutes, we've had people who say that's horrible, that we would even consider changing these lights. So we need to have some sensible responses to those, because it will save the town money in the long run if we change these lights. Is there anything else from the other items that we're carrying along?
Reservoir Dam, the 2D modeling is almost ready to go to the DES.
Oh, good.
They've been back and forth getting all the parameters correct. So probably in another couple weeks, we should see something back from Fuss and O'Neill on the dam, but it's looking more and more like it's going to be a high hazard dam. And then he'll come back with some broad brushstrokes of suggestions on how to repair it.
Okay, good.
I wanted to ask about the emergency generators, because that came up during the school deliberative session. So I thought we were going to reach out to that, the girl that worked with us on the emergency plan, to see if there was funding to purchase a generator.
She had told us there was, actually.
Right. Did you hear back, Sarah, from them? I
think we put it on hold, was a request because there was something happening right now. We need to work with E. Houghton, and I think there was,
Yeah.
like, it was like,
I'll
let's wait a
remind
little
Mark
bit.
again.
Let's
Yeah.
Mark.
I'll remind Mark again that it's in his ballpark to figure out how big of a generator is needed and how much the cost is going to be.
Yeah, because it was mentioned. I don't recall the actual context, but I know it came up. There was a comment made about the need for a generator for the Walpole
Yeah,
school.
Billy Stoll mentioned it when he was reading the information for Walpole
We need it for the
Elementary.
school as well as town hall. We need two.
Right.
And, and the woman who worked with us on those mitigation plans and other things, yes, she works with Homeland Security. I'm blocking her.
Liz Gilboy.
Liz, that's right, Liz.
Yeah, but I think it got stuck because they need cost and they need engineering and things like that first. So I'll get on Mark's case again. I have a call into him now.
That's good. Thank you. Because we
On
can,
that same note, I would like us to call a meeting of that emergency management committee sometime in the May-June timeframe.
all right.
Because there was actions there that we should be taking on an ongoing basis, and I hate to see it just drop.
Yeah, we mentioned this last week. I agree with you. I think we should,
Yeah.
in fact, be meeting.
And
So do you want to make like a formal request to Lisa Murphy, or what are you thinking? You want me to
no,
mention it?
I think I was going to work with Mark. I think we can do it internally. I don't know if we need anybody from the outside.
Okay.
It's just like, it's like the generators Should we be holding a drill? Remember, that was one of the recommendations, like a practice drill. We did install the radio, which was one thing that we wanted to do. I think there's some other training that needs to be done
I
as
agree.
well for emergency operations center management. There's a whole bunch of little things that we left off, kind of left in the gray zone for a while, but we should come back at it, I think.
I think we could call that meeting ourselves.
Yeah, I don't think we need anybody to do it.
Did our final plan come back? I don't recall.
Yes.
The
Yes.
fun-
Yes,
It
it
did.
was. It is back in the office.
Hey, speaking of plans, do we know if we ever got the updates to the master plan back yet, Sarah?
I've not received them.
No. I haven't seen
I've
those
not-
come back
I've
from
not
Southwest
seen-
yet.
I've never seen them. I'd like
Yeah.
to read them.
I think that's lost in the shuffle. Have to follow up on that too.
Let's go on to new business. I think, do you have that? We have a letter regarding Megan Hansen being appointed interim town clerk that we need to sign. So I don't know whether Sarah wants to put it up on the screen, but if not, I'd like a motion that we approve this and sign it, please, this weekend.
I move to approve the DMV letter for Megan Hansen.
Second.
Are there any questions about it? There it is. Okay. Hearing none, then I will call for a vote. All those in favor, Steve,
Aye.
Cheryl,
Aye.
and I vote yes. So we will, it is approved and we will sign it. Sadly, we have a resignation letter to accept from Gary McCormick, supervisor of the checklist from North Walpole, and Cheryl brought that in. Can we have a motion to accept that?
I move to accept the resignation of Gary McCormick as supervisor of the checklist. And it looks like they have appointed Michelle Gallagher, who is a North Walpole resident, as his replacement.
Second.
Are there any questions or comments about it? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Steve?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye. I would like to do, per their request, I would like to send him a thank you card. I don't know if Sarah has
Absolutely,
started that.
we should do that.
It's
Yeah.
on the table for signatures.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you very much.
I've one item I've added to the agenda. I forgot this. I apologize. I'm going to share screen, but the MS 636 was done, and we need this to go with the
Warrant.
warrant articles.
I move to approve the MS 636.
Is there a second?
Did we get an advanced copy of this, Cheryl? Sarah?
It would have been sent by Rich. I believe he sent it all to
Sent it?
you.
Okay.
Yeah.
I second the motion.
All right. Are there any questions about it? It's already been approved. I believe it's already been seen by the DRA.
Yep.
So, all right, then I will call for a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Steve?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
And I vote aye. So it is approved, and it will be on the table for us to sign this weekend then. All right, was there anything else, Sarah?
That was it. Just a last minute thing we definitely needed.
I'll tell you that yesterday, for the first time, I went to a meeting of a group at the Southwest Regional Planning that is the age-focused planning study group, a large group and an interesting group. And they are obviously, as the state population is aging, towns are aging, in particular in Cheshire County. We are not increasing in population particularly. And this group is to focus on transportation, housing, economic development, and social engagement opportunities for aging in communities. And I think it's going to be an interesting group to work with. They are from all over the county and include professionals as well as people like me, volunteers and whatnot. So it's being led basically by Terry Johnson, but Lisa Murphy and Henry Underwood are also involved in it. So as things come out that are important, I will share them with everybody, okay?
I find it interesting, Peg, that everybody has a different age, average age for the towns. I've heard numbers for Walpole as young as 40 to as old as 68 as the average age, and all the numbers in between.
Right.
It's kind of interesting to listen to it all.
Well, when I did that research for the EPA grant, I read
Yeah.
so many different statistics for what Walpole was. that-
Yeah, I don't know. Just recently at the Economic Development Council meeting, they said it was 47 for Walpole.
Well, that may be, but they also list that we have 1,000 people over the age of 60. So
Yeah, I don't know where they get their numbers from. That's the interesting thing.
that's it. You can get them from a lot of different places and they're all,
Yeah.
none of them are consistent.
Yep.
So, but at any rate, we're all getting older. How about that?
Yes, every day.
Surprise, surprise. So,
Well, I just wanted to go back for a second. So, Steve, I could not find a digital copy of the MS 636. I can see the one from last February, but not this February. So I sent Rich a request to send that digitally.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
So do you wanna keep it as motioned and moved because it has been reviewed by the DRA, or you want to leave it as is?
Well, I
Or do
think
you wanna look
we're
at
up
it?
against the deadline. Are we up against the deadline, Sarah?
Yeah.
So I'll look at it over the weekend.
Okay.
I'll give you a copy later, Steve.
Yeah.
I can run it out there.
I'm here, so I can grab a copy.
the DRA has examined it. I know that because they had a couple of questions that they raised. And because he included some things he didn't last year and it caught their attention and there were numbers that he shouldn't have put in. Do you remember when or maybe I was the only one who got it. He was going to have us write a warrant for
Yeah, no, yeah, for the
Yeah.
transfers.
Yes.
that
Right.
made no sense. We didn't need that. And he'd never put that in the past. So of course it came to their attention. And that's why he had to erase those and then they approved the form. So you can certainly look at them, but and if you want changes, if you see something that you think is out of line, that well, we can always go back to it, but we are beginning to run up against a deadline of getting it in with the warrants. So we had a motion, we approved it, I think, so at this point, didn't we?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I just wanted to make sure that he was comfortable with that because I couldn't find it electronically.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, I didn't notice it, but that doesn't mean I didn't get it, so.
Well, I'm thinking you didn't because I didn't get one.
You didn't get it either, yeah.
No, I looked it up to see just in case he gave it. The note from earlier says that he was going to give it to Sarah to put on the agenda. So I don't know if he thought Sarah was going to send it or not, but last year he sent it. So
Right.
I couldn't find anything that he sent.
Mhm.
Well, last year it
Yeah,
did.
we'll look at it over the weekend. If there's a problem, we'll have a little chance on Monday to fix it.
Right.
Yes, we will. Okay. Is there any other new business or any announcements that need to come up? If not, then I'm going to ask for a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second,
And we are all in favor at 6:59 to adjourn. And we will, in a few minutes, go into a non-public session, which should be pretty short. So, thank you.